Today we're going to welcome two very interesting guests, Gaurav Phatak and Sanika Dev Robinson. Please welcome to our show. And those who have created a very nice community-based platform called Hrudayaantar. And yeah, we would like to know more about Hrudayaantar, what exactly it is.
So Hrudayantar basically exactly means what it says, right? It's Hrudayantar, so it means a change of heart. Doing this initiative with Sanika, it wasn't just the best way for me, it was the only way for me. Hrudayantar was all about empathy, right? So I always thought
Right.
of myself as an empath, but I didn't fully grasp the depth of empathy until I started speaking with her, and which was more frequent as we started taking trips because we were friends before. But once we started taking trips, it was more evident that we had a certain connection. We had this idea together. I'll be very honest, she's the one who gave it wings. I know you asked this question to me, but she's the one who had taken so many initiatives on her own, creating the website, connecting with people, building relationships. We had to talk to people, not to create a
Hmm.
miraculous difference, but at least to create some hope, some difference, some change of heart. That you know what, you are not alone, and you do have something, or you do have someone where you can go out and talk to anything about without any judgments, and that were us. So our motto was always was we are here to hear.
Great. Sanika, would you like to share some insights on this?
I thought of helping people. I always loved helping people. Gaurav and I used to have these discussions about our personal struggles with anxiety. And it was like a collective thought process, I would say, that made us think about how we can help people, because we realized that if we have each other, people don't always have that privilege that they can speak to someone they can trust. My mother was one of the important ones to show me the importance of therapy and how it can be significant and important building you as a person. That's how Hrudayantar was created. We always try to still help people around us, and we try to spread that joy and cheer, and try to tell people why therapy is important, because people need help. Sometimes they just are very anxious, or they struggle to speak to someone around them because they feel like no one will understand them. So to actually build that trust or that relationship, that requires time and effort, and that's what we are trying to create even today.
Is there any way, like, is there any process how usually people connect with you? Is there any helpline numbers or people have to approach you through websites only? So, what is the exact process?
There were 3 to 4 ways where you could approach us. First was the website itself, where it had our contact details. It
Right.
also had a live chat service where, during a certain time period, we could chat with people whoever used to come. Third was our Instagram DMs, where we had a page called as Hrudayantar, where we used to conduct live sessions. We used to put up posts, etc. And that chat, only two of us had access to it, and we used to decide that these are the number of people that I am talking to or you are talking to. That's how they used to approach us. And I think what really worked with the approach was, one, it was word of mouth, and of course we cannot name names here. They have come to you, spoken to you about something. Can I also share a thing? So that was how the word of mouth was, how it was spreading. And
Okay.
of course we did some kind of marketing ourselves as well, using our Instagram, the website, the live chat service, Instagram DMs, and also people who actually knew us, they had our contact numbers. So that's how we used to talk with everybody.
Just so much lack of awareness among the communities. Like, so there is just so much that people don't know about it. And I do feel like people love reading. So honestly, you can just open your phone when you're on the way to work, and you can open our website and you can have a look at the blog we have written. So it used to be like weekly, and people used to contribute to it.
Building up a community was essential, but the first hurdle that we had to come up with was sensitizing this, and
Mhm.
tackle the taboo that comes with mental health or depression. These words were taken as a sort of illness of some sorts, which I understand in medical terms it is, but it is something that can be, dealt with gradually and slowly. People are afraid of those medications so much that they think that this,
Mm-hmm.
like, they always concentrate on the side effects. And I always used to say this: what happens to you when you have fever or when you have a headache? You pop up a Crocin or you pop up a paracetamol, right? Do you really
Right.
worry about the side effects when you take those medications? No. But why are you worrying about the side effects of those medications which are going to help you reduce your anxiety and the feeling of unwelcomeness in your own surrounding? Everybody was fighting battles that no one else could see. So Hrudayantar was
Mm-hmm.
not about giving advice. It was just about letting them feel heard.
So my next question is, what was the common concerns or feelings people came and expressed to you guys?
They couldn't feel supported by the people around them, and they realized that they really want to share something that's been in their heart for a very long time. There were, I would say, so much trauma involved at times, and we have had a lot of people who were suicidal and who wanted to speak to someone. Like, there was literally a desperate call for help. I think if you remember, that was also the same time when Sushant Singh Rajput passing
Yeah,
away.
yeah.
And that's when we realized that suicide prevention is something we should also work on, and that was another branch I think we decided to work around.
I know that pandemic was really a bad time for all of us, right? But out of pandemic came really good things. I feel the
Mm-hmm.
COVID-19 pandemic was like a magnifying glass on mental health issues. For
Mm-hmm.
starters, isolation hit us hard, right? Like people who thrived on human connection suddenly found themselves alone, with nothing but their thoughts for company. Anxiety skyrocketed, depression deepened, and there was this overwhelming sense of uncertainty of what was going to happen next. When would this end? We saw was how difficult it became uh, for people to express their feelings. I mean, it's very easy to say I'm fine when you're not, but I think Hridayanta gave permission to be honest and how they really felt. And you wouldn't believe that we think, how are people going to talk to strangers, right? But I think that helped because there is this innate fear
Actually,
of
sometimes
judgment.
it's easier to talk to strangers, I feel, rather than someone who know.
Oh,
If
that's
Yes,
so
someone,
true.
yes,
So
because
true.
someone
yeah,
you know might judge you for it, while a stranger won't judge you
yeah,
for it.
Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
think,
yes.
yeah, so exactly that happened. So it was even a revelation to us as we were, learning on the go.
We weren't expecting the kind of response we got. It was just like, okay, like, like 3-4 people maybe might respond, and we'll have to like do a lot more to promote ourselves. But honestly, we didn't really have to promote ourselves as much, because again, like you said, the word of mouth was so higher and like than we imagined.
But I'm so passionate about this that I'm actually making a career out of this now.
Wow, that's nice. So I was asking what motivated Hrudayantar to focus on suicide cases and suicide prevention.
I think I already gave the answer away, but that was one of the major reasons we did was because of Sushant Singh Rajput. I think Hrudayantar, I think if you remember, Gaurav, we already started it. Like
Yeah,
Hrudayantar had
yeah.
already started to take shape, but Sushant Singh Rajput stuff was like, I think it hit all of us like individually. You ask people how they are, and they just are like, yeah, I'm fine. But are they really? Are they fine? They are not. And there's so much trauma involved. So I do feel like Hrudayantar was their safe space, that we should genuinely focus on people who need help, and as much as we can, if we try to help people who are suicidal, and if we can save even one life, that would really mean so much to us.
Yeah.
It's not about us, it's about the people we are helping. But just to sum up, the short answer was we saw the need. And the more we spoke to people, it became clearer to us that we needed to focus on suicide prevention.
Wow, that's nice. Very nice to hear. So, what were the tools and strategies you used to, provide support during lockdown period?
As I said, we had a channel set up initially. The only tool we had was social media. So we went all in. We went all in on digital platforms because that's where people were spending most of the time during the pandemic. We set up like live sessions, virtual sessions. We headed meets. We reached out on social media. And you know what? You will be really surprised. how much comfort can someone feel from just one message, and that one message says, "How are you holding up?" I must say this, that both of us were just listeners. We always guided everybody to the volunteer psychologists or even psychiatrists we had on board, so that they could get a professional help as well. So that was another thing, another way of us making them reach to the right people. So these were like basic tools and strategies. We didn't do anything out of the blue, but we did what we could.
Gaurav and I kind of started to do it with each other, and we realized we are each other's refuge to, if we can't share anything with our family members or anyone around us. And that's how we basically approach people, that this is how we want to help you as well. That we want you to feel that you can speak to us without any inhibitions, like you don't need to feel that we would judge you or anything. There is no judgment. That's, I think, what made us realize that we are doing something right, because I was a bit worried. I was like, would this work at all? But I think the more it spread, the more people came on board and they supported our idea. And that's how we decided to, like, we won't give advice. We would hear them out, like Gaurav, you said. And we would like direct them to a therapist or psychologist. And what was nice was these therapists and psychologists take sessions for free. So it was such a nice thing to do for us, because some of them I knew personally, some of them Gaurav knew personally, but it was still like it was their source of income. And to do all of this just to help people, I think again that was just one motive which we had, all of us had, that just be there to help people and here to here.
Can you comment on the demographic trends? Like any observations you noted?
What stood out to
Mm-hmm.
me was that mental health struggles don't discriminate, you know. I mean, we had people from all walks of life reaching out, students, working professionals, older adults. I also remember talking to a mother of like three grown-up children, you know, so the demographic was everywhere. So what I was saying was people from the LGBTQIA plus community, especially,
Mm-hmm.
or marginalized community, let's just put that way. Many of
Mm-hmm.
them were cut off from their support networks, and to them, the isolation had hit very hard.
So now the basically world is back on track, like pandemic, lockdown is over, everything is over. So what do you think? Like, are there any long-term effects? Like people are still having any mental health issues, effects from the pandemic?
So I can definitely imagine the long-term effect on other people um, to deal with social anxiety, struggling to maintain relationships. Um, and I think how I dealt with it was, again, starting therapy and taking the medicines like antidepressants and stuff. So I think that helped me a lot. Um, and yeah, I think that was definitely one of the things I feel like, and it's still impacting people today, because even if we say it's like 3, 4 years, it's been 3, 4 years. And Gaurav and I were discussing a
Yeah.
few days ago
That's
that
right.
it doesn't feel like COVID happened like 3, 4 years ago. It still feels like it happened yesterday and we just came out of it. Um, and I can see the way how differently people engage with each other now. It's just not the same. And I kind of feel sad, but I do feel like if you look at the positive side of it, that people are taking each other more seriously, and so, like people surrounding me, like including Gaurav, we are actually actively trying to make sure we are okay. Like Gaurav and I always talk to each other. We try to like contact each other every like 2 days at least in a week, and make sure we are doing okay. And
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
that I have observed that within my other friend circles as well. Um, Checking up on each other, taking care of each other. So I do feel like that awareness is I think it has increased to a little bit, but I do feel like more awareness is important,
Yeah.
because there is still that stigma attached to, like how Gaurav you mentioned about medicines, especially
Mm-hmm.
antidepressants. The stigma attached to it is so higher that people, we can take paracetamol just as it is even today, but we are afraid. And I was one of those. I consulted Gaurav again, when I was prescribed antidepressant. I was like, "Is this okay? Do you think I'll be okay?" And he was like, "Yes, because it's just another medicine, and you will come, you'll feel so much better, and you'll be like a warrior when you come out of it." Uh, and I do feel like this is the push that I needed.
My nephew, and they had just come back from a trip, and unfortunately, the family was caught with COVID, right? So my mother or me, we used to cook for them, and we used to deliver tiffins. And my nephew, he was so young, and firstly, it's pandemic. He's not going to the school. He's not with his friends. He's home alone. He's always frustrated. In that, if he has acquired COVID, it is more difficult for
Mm.
him because he is inside
Okay.
the house. So when I went to deliver that meal to them, I kept it on the this threshold of the
Yeah.
household. You
Mm.
keep it, and the thing that he said to me was, "Hey, I know that you cannot come and play with me or even hug me. What I will do is I will stand on this balcony and I will watch you play with his dog Chase." And that hit me
Oh,
so hard. I was like, we are not thinking about them. We are not talking
oh,
about
right.
hard about how these people are dealing with it. It's especially difficult for children.
Truly, connect with this because my son, of course, he was what around 7, 8 months when the
Oh,
lockdown started, and still 2 years he was inside the house. No basic playgrounds, nothing, no outdoor activities,
Oh my
nothing
God.
was there. So he didn't know only how to socialize to people.
Yeah,
So it took
exactly.
quite a lot of time for him to come
time.
out of his, comfort zone. Like he was very comfortable. He was only comfortable in the house.
I can tell you that pandemic has left a permanent mark on mental health. We're seeing more people
Right.
dealing with long-term anxiety, social anxiety, fear of unknown and uncertainties. Uh, and
Hmm.
they have termed this as new normal, but is it really the new normal? Is it really normal anymore? Is the question that we need to ask.
So, are you still in contact with the people who tried to connect you during the pandemic?
Not really.
Okay.
One, because it was a clear distinction that people who are
Hmm.
talking to us are people who are seeking help and they're not our friends.
So, how has your approach to mental health advocacy changed since pandemic? Any thoughts on that?
Acknowledgement is the key. Acknowledging
Hmm.
that you might have a problem or sometimes you are a problem is uh, is a very hard thing to do. But I think the first step of dealing with everything else, dealing with what is difficult, dealing with how things are not happening for us. It's easy to blame,
Hmm.
it's easy to self-loathe, and it's easy to say, ah, bad things only happen to me. But that's not the truth. So I think that is something that I learned, like it was a reality check that happened.
When you said acknowledgement, I also thought that acceptance is the key. I think and you did say that accepting that you can be at fault at times, or you can be wrong, that or you may have certain traits that you need to change because people might find that problematic. That's a very difficult thing to do. There is no shame in accepting that you need to change certain things about yourself to strengthen relationships around you. No matter if Hrudayantar lives on or not, that's a second story. But we will always try our best to help people around us because it's such a difficult world to live in right now. Like with what's been happening, and Gaurav said that how mental health has been affected after that, like the aftermath of the pandemic.
We are talking about talking and speaking about our emotions, and it is so easy for us to say, you just need to speak about your emotions, but it is very hard to do in real life. it's
Absolutely.
it's it's easier said than done, right? Especially in a world where, unfortunately for sure, we live in a patriarchal society where men are believed to be raised a certain way, where men are supposed to have certain standards for themselves, for their friends, for everybody. And if they see somebody cry, they're like, "Bhai, kya ro raha hai? Ladki hai kya?" Is the very first
Hmm.
common question that comes up. What happened during the pandemic and after the pandemic that changed is something that I saw. Any man who was in touch with his own roots, they embrace that part about themselves, they embrace the empathy, and the saying has now been transformed to, भाई तुझे कुछ मदद चाहिए तो बोल मैं हूँ. I think this is a
Hmm.
huge change that I have observed around men
Yeah.
around me itself, and I think that's a huge win for the society.
Yeah.
I
Correct.
mean,
Yeah.
if this change of paradigm can happen, then I think we are leading to a better place. Slow steps, but we are
Yeah.
going there.
So, when you guys were, trying to give support to other people, how did you ensure the emotional well-being of your own team members? That is also one aspect because they were also going through lockdown and isolation and everything.
I was doing yoga every day to make sure I was okay mentally. I used to go for like what I used to do is because I was living in an apartment that time, taking like a round walk around my building, listening to music, which made me happy.
Hmm.
Arts and crafts. I love painting, so that was like one way for me to emote how I felt. Watching good heartfelt like films, which made me like smile and happy. Talking to friends like Gaurav, just laughing about or like reminiscing about memories which brought smile to our
Hmm.
faces. I think that was definitely our rescue that time. Just to even think of like the places we all have been to. Like for example, we went to Rajasthan. It was the 10 of us, all of us kind of didn't know each other that well. That was Gaurav and my first trip as well, going somewhere as friends. Um, and exploring like a completely different place, and it was fun. And I think the more we discussed it later, it was just like new things started coming up, and I think that helped us distract ourselves so much.
And it wasn't easy. Like when you're constantly hearing other people's pain, it
Hmm.
starts to weigh on you. I
Yeah,
mean, it starts to become overwhelming. That's why it is
Right.
crucial for us to check in with each other regularly. And
for sure.
Hmm.
I like to answer your question as well. We made sure that everyone on the team had someone to talk to, whether it was a peer
Huh.
support group, us, or even therapists. We encouraged
Hmm.
everyone to take breaks to prioritize their own mental health. To again, just to summarize and to answer your question, I think it is important to create a safe space for our team
Hmm.
members to share their experiences and also to decompress. It is essential to have that emotional outlet when you're dealing with heavy stuff day in and day out. So
Yeah.
self-care, as Sanika said, was not just something we preached. We made sure that we were practicing it as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Practice what
And
you
Gaurav
preach,
and I
of
used to
course.
have
Yeah.
these discussions about our
So,
personal
any
struggles with
success stories you
anxiety,
want to share?
and it was like a
One
collective thought
of the
process, I would say
people
that.
that that have stood out. So this
Hmm.
person was experiencing not just anxiety or an intense episode of depression, but he was also experiencing the weight and the stigma that it carries around. So he was trapped in his own thoughts and was almost about to unfortunately end his life. So both of us, and it was even difficult for us because now that we have in writing, we have this as his messages. We were also being very cautious on how are we going to handle this. The only thing we did, I think, was for the first 2 weeks, we just heard that person out. And after hearing the person out, as I said, I did the storytelling thing that I used to do. That
Hmm.
person immediately after that asked for a professional help, saying that they want to be a better version of themselves. And I think Sanika immediately gave one of the psychologist's numbers, and they were referred to them for professional help for understanding everything. And
Hmm.
that was we were really scared at first, but the way it turned out in the end, it made the entire process so cathartic for us. And we felt like, okay, I think at least one person is might be leading towards happiness because of us, and that gives you a better energy
That's
as
a
well.
great feeling. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great
I
feeling.
think
That's, yeah.
the process from feeling suicidal to actually feeling better is again quite strenuous, it's quite long. But I think to change their mind, to not go ahead or to not pursue that what do you call that thought, is so important, because that's that what do you call it, like that point which is going to change their thought process completely, where they actually start to realize that they want to get out of this feeling, they want to start feeling better, they want to do things, and their life has a purpose now. And that made us feel so much better, honestly, because hearing that someone wants to end their life is like such a not a good thing, of course, to hear, right? And it did affect us as well. And to be there to help them and to actually have people who wanted to help these kind of people was also such a good thing to do. Like I was so happy.
It's been 4 years to this incident. Now that person is in the US. That person has a house. That person is happily married. And
Wow.
yeah, so that I think
I
it's
didn't know
just
that.
growth. Yeah, it's just growth from where that person was to where that person is.
So, lastly, what advice would you give to professionals who want to start any mental health initiatives?
without without research, I it gets a bit difficult then, because people will hold you answerable for
Mhm.
everything. So you need to be prepared for anything. So we what we did was, in our sense, we also had a legal team later, who some of our friends who are lawyers and stuff, we had them ready with us uh just in case, for anything. So I do feel like these
Mhm.
kind of things you should be very mindful of, because again, it's people's lives at stake here.
But if you're thinking about starting any initiative, especially mental health initiative, the first thing I'd say is do it. Okay, because there are so many people in this world who need help, and there are so many less people who are offering it. So just do it, go for it. This is what I always used to tell people, my friends especially, who were very anti-therapy. I used to say, "Do you go to the gym every day?" They say yes. I was like, "Why?" Because showing up is the key. I said, "This is exactly
Right.
if gym is for your physical health, therapy is for your mental
For the
health.
mental.
You just have to show up. Showing up is good enough." And it might sound like a cliche, but clear communication is truly the foundation of everything, because most of the times we talk in our minds, and during showers we have arguments with ourselves to the people we actually want to argue with. Instead, just talk to them, because you'll be surprised how many problems are solved by one heart to heart conversation.
What you said is very correct. Like just simple conversation solves all the problems, be it with anyone. So very rightly said. And I really want to thank Gaurav and Sanika, both of you. You did such a great job during the tough time. Like it was really a critical situation for everybody those 2 years.
I'll be very honest, we have to be really thankful and grateful to you both.
Yeah, I was
Sanket sir
gonna
and
say,
Ruchadi, you
for
have
giving
been
us a
like,
platform to speak
yeah,
about this
for
again.
giving us this platform. We
It's
did
our
like
pleasure.
after after the talk, I checked what Saves Nine Healthcare is doing, and
Yeah.
I think this is it, right? Even you guys just started out of the blue, and that is essential. That is something, because you have learned, you have a skill, and now you're giving out to the world. I think there's nothing more purer than that. So I'm really grateful, and we're really thankful as well.